Fox News economist, in quotes, seems to think that poor people are slobs, drunks, and drug addicts. Now, he was on the May 19th edition of Fox News Your World with Neil Cavuto, talking about Hillary Clinton's statements on income inequality. Well, let's take a look at some of that segment.
And when Hillary Clinton says the cards are stacked, is she really saying it is time to stick it to the rich? Ben Stein says that's exactly what she's saying, but she's not being very fair about it. Ben, good to have you. What do you make of this?
Well, I think there's never been a time in history when the poor were made rich by making the rich poor, and I don't think it'll work this time either. I do applaud the idea of having more well-to-do people in this country, but they get well-to-do by work and by education and by working smarter and more efficiently and leading more disciplined lives, not by Hillary Clinton making fun of the rich.
You know what's interesting about this is you know, she's essentially, you know, going to topple herself if she gets her goal to topple the 1%.
Right, she's going to topple herself and all her friends. Look, I live in Beverly Hills. I live part of the time in Malibu. All those rich people in show business, all of them are for Hillary. They're not Republicans. They're all for Hillary. The rich, the really rich left-wingers, and the really rich in this country are generally left-wingers. Not all, but generally. They love Hillary. And by the way, you can tax them a lot. They'll still be fantastically rich, and the poor will still be fantastically poor.
So wait a minute. There's so many contradictions in this. So Hillary Clinton's looking to topple the poor topple the rich by taxing the rich. However, even if you tax them somewhere, and they were talking about this, somewhere around 90%, or, you know, to tax them more, they'll still be fantastically rich, and they'll, you know, the poor will still be fantastically poor. So basically, don't even waste your money. Don't even waste your time. Poor people, you know, giving money to poor people is obviously not going to work, and that's what we're doing. Well, let's let Ben Stein explain exactly why we shouldn't give money to poor people, in his words.
You know, it's interesting when she talked about reshuffling the deck. The first thing I thought of is you're only doing it with half a deck, because only about half the people in this country are paying any federal income tax. I take nothing away from those who are paying payroll tax and what have you, but you're already talking about a slice of that deck that's smaller and getting increasingly smaller. So if your idea of making it right is in her case, and it's in Bernie Sanders' case is in his case, then you're chasing fewer and fewer paying in.
Well, you're chasing in fewer people paying in, and you're chasing a history that does not exist and a future that does not exist. There has never been a case in history where a poor person who's a slovenly, uneducated, lazy, undisciplined drug addict got to be rich because of some wealthy person being taxed. It's fine with me.
Wait. I just want to be clear. Ben Stein is not saying that all poor people are slovenly.
No, not at all. Many are fine, incredibly hardworking people, and I love them. And by the way, I work with them when I go to Walmart, and they're great people. But there are an awful lot of people who are slobs, drunks, drug addicts. No plan is going to help them. I mean, if you took all that money and gave it to the number of people who are way below the poverty line, they'll be better off for a little while. But unless they can develop better habits of life, they're not going to be better off at all. Any person in this country who works hard, gets a decent education, really is disciplined, can become a middle-class person.
Wow. Okay, a lot of things here. First of all, the straw man. There's that straw man argument that he sets up about Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. We want to give all money to poor people and make the poor rich and the rich poor. Even though he contradicted his own statement in the previous clip by saying even if you tax wealthy people at super high, they're still going to be fantastically wealthy. So what's your point? Well, his whole point is that we shouldn't even try because, in his words, there are an awful lot of poor people who are slobs, drunks, and drug addicts. And even if you give the dumb people at the lower income spectrum, give all the money to the dumb people, they're going to be fine for a little while, but they're going to waste the money. So why even try? Why even attempt to do so? But there are some good people who are poor that I spend time with them at Walmart all the time, and they work hard. Well, it's funny because if they're hard workers, then why are they working at Walmart? making a minimum wage. Well, according to in Ben Stein's world, that must mean that they're lazy, dumb, or drug addicts. Now, that doesn't work in the real world, where most people working for minimum wage work incredibly hard for too little to support themselves and their families. They don't make enough because Walmart doesn't pay them enough, and they use the government benefits to enrich their own bottom line. So we're not giving money to the poor. We're actually subsidizing corporations with a lot of this welfare, especially when it comes to food stamps. And corporations are using these social programs to get themselves rich. So this isn't a case of us just dumping a bunch of money on lazy slobs, drunks, and everything like that, and drug addicts. No, we're subsidizing corporations to the tune of billions of dollars in food stamps and other welfare programs. And it's not helping them get ahead. What would really help them get ahead is even Ben Stein, education. But later on, he's like, oh, that Obama college? Shh, let's not do that. That's stupid. But wait a minute, I thought you just said the whole idea is if you work hard and get an education, then you have a chance of getting ahead. But there are so many people who are educated and who work hard that are continuously being left behind because of pro-corporate policies and not enough spending on things like free community college, just like Obama would say. And we don't... Ben Stein is a colossal idiot. I don't understand why they keep bringing him back. Maybe they do it so that they can say, well, we don't make fun of poor people. We don't call them lazy. No, it's our guests. We have no control over what our guests say. And maybe that's why they keep bringing him on, because every time he's on, he always says something terrible about poor people. One more thing, too. Maybe poor people can actually start to get ahead as well if we make sure that they have enough to survive on. Maybe then they can look beyond the first tier of Maslow's hierarchy of needs and actually start to look at making their situation better, improving their situation. And once again, I have to mention, I haven't mentioned here, but I've mentioned before in other videos, that poor people do drugs at a lower rate. People on welfare do drugs at a lower rate than the general populace. If you want to start talking about people on drugs, right? People who are addicted, I would check Wall Street. I would test them for all for cocaine. And we'll see who's the drug addicted ones. You'd be surprised.